Hey everyone, this is Blackhawk SC. Since I've been posting videos that feature ultra autocannon builds, I've been answering a lot of questions related to these weapons. From these questions and some of the gameplay videos that I see when I spectate, it was pretty clear to me that there were a lot of misunderstandings about UX, especially from newer players. Well, this is completely understandable since the mechanics of UX are somewhat complicated. So in this video, I'm going to help explain the UX in detail, their pros and cons, how to play them, and hopefully that'll help you use these weapons more effectively. Furthermore, after understanding UX better, I hope that if you were apprehensive about using UX before, you can make adjustments to your gameplay and give them another shot. By far, the most common concern with the UX is the fact that they jam, always seemingly at the worst possible time. Like when I'm about to kill this Marauder here. This leads to things like players using macros to make UX behave like regular ACs, or avoiding UX entirely. So the first thing to know about Ultra Autocannons is, don't try to avoid the double taps. It's what makes the UX work, so there's no point in trying to make them behave like normal ACs. The reason is that even with the jams, they provide better average DPS than regular ACs and LBX ACs. So in the case of the Marauder, although I couldn't secure the kill, I wouldn't have gotten its health down so low if I was using regular ACs. I've done the UX DPS calculations myself, and I'll just very briefly go over one example. Here, I'm calculating the average DPS of the IS UX5 and compare it to the standard AC5. We assume that we take 1,000 double taps, calculate the expected damage of both the non-jam and jam cases, and then we calculate how much time each scenario costs us over these 1,000 attempts. When we do the division of the expected damage over time, the result is that the UX5 average DPS is 20% better than the regular AC5. You can extend the math to apply to Clan UX as well, but you'd have to tweak the formula a bit to account for the fact that Clan UX 5, 10, and 20 have a duration due to them shooting multiple bullets per salvo, and that the cooldown doesn't start until the last bullet is fired. But if you do all cases, from the UX 2 to the UX 20, the average DPS of the Ultra version is better than that of the standard version. Thus far, we've only been talking about average DPS. But average DPS only really matters if you're sitting out in the open firing nonstop. Even if you play it that way, as we just showed, the damage output is better than the regular autocannons. However, this is a pretty bad way to play. The power of ultra autocannons is really displayed when you use it as a burst DPS weapon. Burst DPS is just the damage output rate of a mech over a short period of time. It should be intuitive that if you start off with all of your UX unjammed, over time, your DPS starts to decrease as more of your weapons jam. If you only expose yourself when your DPS is at or close to the maximum and taking cover for the rest of the time, you're effectively increasing your DPS far beyond the average DPS number. I think what a lot of inexperienced players do is gamble with the jam chance and get themselves into 1v1 situations. When the UX do jam, they feel frustrated that they can't do anything. So remember to position near cover or near your team so you can get to a safe place when most or all of your ACs have jammed. Let's actually do a quick positioning demo with this MAD2CA build. So in this situation, we're facing off against a Black Widow, and we got a couple of shots on it. It's gotten damaged, and we have the option right now to go around the corner of this rock and try to shoot it some more, but that would not have been a good decision because if I turn the corner, then I would not be in a position where my team can support me. So I decided not to do that. Similarly here, when I'm with a Kodiak, I can just drop down and start shooting it immediately as soon as possible. But I want to make sure that the team is aware of the Kodiak before I start, going down and start shooting it. And here, when we have support, then we can safely engage the target. The point that I just made about taking cover when your ACs jam implies another thing. Because you can still be effective as long as you have at least one unjammed weapon, it's best to take 2 or more ACs in a build. The more UX you have, the less likely that all of them will jam at the same time. If I can only take one ballistic, I would take a Gauss rifle, like on this KDK-1, or an LBX 10 or 20, or for the IS, a standard AC 10 or 20. Then I would change the playstyle to either a high alpha or brawl build, rather than play it as a DPS build. If those options I mentioned above are not possible, or don't make sense on a chassis, then I'd skip the ballistic hardpoint entirely. The fact that you should use more than one UX is perhaps the biggest reason why the UX 20 is usually not the best weapon choice, as long as alternatives are available, like the dual UX 10s. The UX 20 weighs a lot, takes up a lot of slots, doesn't sync well with any other AC in the game, and its ghost heat penalty kicks in at 2 simultaneously fired UAC-20s. For these reasons, it's prohibitive to use more than one of them on a build. But by using one, it also means you're stuck with potentially facing off against an opponent with your biggest weapon disabled for 12 seconds. It's also 12 seconds because of the jam time plus the cooldown period. As I said earlier, you should have done more damage than a standard clan AC-20 by the time your UAC jams. But it's still not ideal to be in that situation, so by using the right builds, you can minimize those risks. Okay guys, that's all I'm going to talk about in part 1 of my UAC guide. In part 2, I'll cover the pros and cons of ultra autocannons versus the alternative ACs, when to choose LBX or regular ACs over UX, how to use ammo on your UX efficiently, and other topics. I hope that this video has been informative, and make sure to subscribe to be notified of new video uploads. See you next time, and bye for now.